Hello and welcome to Business Edition. In this program, we'll be looking at the developments in the energy sector. And to tell us all about this, I have with me today Carol Koech, who's the country president, Schneider Electric East Africa. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Who is Schneider Electric?
Schneider Electric is an energy management and industrial automation company. We are a global company present in more than 100 countries. As of 2021, we were a 29 billion euro turnover, more than 128,000 employees globally, and also present across the world. So if you look at our spread, our business is really, I would say, global by its name. We have about 30% of our revenue from America, another 30% from Asia Pacific, 26% from Europe, and about 14% from rest of Africa. And as you can imagine, East Africa falls under the rest of Africa. And this is really our growing economy. So about 45% of our revenues come from growing or developing economies. And this is the fastest growing for us. Also, Schneider Electric is present in many industries. Because we are an energy management company, we focus on, bringing efficiencies into the industries. So we are on a mission, and our mission is to be your digital partner for efficiency and sustainability.
What exactly are you doing in East Africa?
So what
is the focus area here?
So the East African business is fairly young. So Schneider got into East Africa through an acquisition of a partner 7 years ago. The name of that partner was Power Techniques. And since then, we are establishing our presence. So today we have presence in Kenya. We have presence in Uganda, in Tanzania, and also in Ethiopia. We do business in Rwanda and Burundi. And from our Kenyan hub, we manage also South Sudan, Somalia, Djibouti, and Eritrea. And we have about 200 people. As part of the acquisition, we acquired a low voltage panel plant. So we do have a manufacturing site in Nairobi, from where we support the countries around. In Tanzania specifically, we have just starting to build our team and also a network of partners.
So it's a growing market, but opportunities, are there?
Oh yes, I think Tanzania is definitely a very ripe market today for us. We see huge opportunities, especially around the large projects in the oil and gas space. We also see opportunities in the mining, but we also see, across the board really, as we build our presence, we see ourselves growing our business much, much faster in Tanzania.
How has that been? Did you see, was it to your expectations? Are you seeing possibilities of joint ventures in that area? What did you expect from this forum?
This is the Alliance for Rural Electrification Investment Forum. We are participating because we are members of that, but because also it's aligned with our Access to Energy program, where we are focused on creating impact. We are, by the way, an impact-driven organization. And part of the things we have done in that forum is we have launched a new product, which is really going to be a game changer for the market. And in line with the discussions that were ongoing with the forum, we see a lot of interest.
What is this product?
It is an inverter, a hybrid inverter. We call it Homaya Pro. It's really used in smaller, I would say smaller entities. So you can use it at the home. You can use it in a school. You can use it to power a shopping center, a small shopping center or a small shop. So the range of inverters is between 3 kilowatt and 6 kilowatt, and you can generate power up to 24 kilowatts by putting them together.
Was there any response? Was it too early to say?
It's too early to say. However, we have smaller ranges, and we've seen a huge demand for it. That's actually what made us to go to the higher ranges. The smaller ranges are quite liked. They are very competitive and reliable.
And where else have you launched this product in East Africa?
So actually, this is the first time we're launching the product.
In Tanzania is the first country?
We are actually launching this product for the first time, and we chose Tanzania to be the country to launch. It's a global launch.
Oh, wow,
Yeah.
that's great news for
Yeah.
us. But when we look at the status here in East African region, electrification, are you seeing growth, or do you still think that this is an area that these countries are still facing challenges?
You know, it's very interesting because during the conference yesterday, actually, data that was shared was that the state of electrification in Africa has gotten worse between 2019 and 2021. So there are now 4% more people without power. The numbers globally have dropped. A few years ago, we were talking about 1.1 billion people without power. Today, we are talking about 800 million people. This is a global number. And you can imagine a majority of those are in Africa, and specifically Sub-Saharan Africa. And of course, East Africa is no exception. We are making progress, for sure, and we've seen governments, you know, drive a lot of initiatives around rural electrification. But I think there's still a lot to cover, and really the whole conference here was about how do we penetrate these countries. In fact, the Tanzanian minister, the Minister of Energy, talked about, you know, rural electrification being people getting access to electricity but using it only for lighting. The conversation should be, then how do we use it for more things other than just lighting? Because how do we use that access to transform livelihoods?
Why have the numbers dropped, though? What has contributed to the situation?
I think COVID, in a way, impacted the numbers, because with COVID, a lot of investments stalled. Projects did not proceed. And so, of course, population has increased. So when you look at overall, if you did not do much in 2 years and the population has increased, then it shows that the numbers are dropping.
And we look at the East African region, how did the countries compare? Are we all sort of in the same situation, or do you think others are making bigger progress than, you know, the others?
So we see different governments driving different initiatives. I will speak to the country I come from.
In Kenya, yes.
And Kenya has made a lot of progress in access. I think we saw numbers in that upwards of 75% of people having access to electricity. There was a big drive to offer what we call last mile connectivity, which was really a government initiative to ensure that people have access. And personally also I benefited because my mother, who for the longest time did not have electricity, finally got connected through this access to last mile connectivity program. But we see many other governments having you know, put together the rural electrification agencies to drive those kind of access. We also see emergence of mini grids, especially for areas that are very far from the grid. So mini grids has become a model that is being used to allocate or to get people to get access to electricity. But I'll tell you, there's still a lot to be done. Of course, we have today the solar, you know, these solar home systems, which many people are being given, you know, or they are buying typically on a pay-go model. That has helped to help, you know, access. But the question today is, are we doing enough, or do we need to do more? And especially to move from just using electricity for lighting to more economically empowering or transformative activities.
Okay, so what is Schneider Electric doing in the area of sustainable energy?
So Schneider Electric has, as like I said, by the way, when you talk about sustainability, it's really at the core of our strategy. And we started measuring sustainability initiatives from 2005. And you know, the world has noticed this, and in 2021, Schneider Electric was named the world's most sustainable corporate by Corporate Knights. This year as well, we've been rated, you know.
What is it that you did until you got this award?
We have driven a lot of sustainability initiatives, but I think the flagship is our Access to Energy program, which is really, has 3 dimensions. So we do have the training and entrepreneurship program, which we will talk about. And then we do have a social and inclusive business. In fact, the product that I talked about is part of our social and inclusive business. That is really just, we use these products just to ensure that people get access. And then we do have as well an impact fund. It's not one, we have several funds. And we invest these funds in organizations that drive the access to energy agenda. So that's really our involvement. So we train people and equip them with skills. We develop products that help to solve this problem, but also we invest in companies that are working in this space, and that really brings it together. In
Tanzania, what are you doing, particularly when we focus on the issue of partnership with the government and the private sector?
So if you look at our training and entrepreneurship program, we are looking for partnerships to drive the training agenda. Here we train, so the way we run the program is we provide equipment, training equipment to institutions, typically technical institutions, and we would also train the trainers. If there's an existing curriculum, we would work with it. If not, we will develop the curriculum together, and we run it as a sustainable organization, or rather setup. So we're looking for, we've made a commitment as part of our sustainability impact to train 1 million people by 2025. So far, this is a global number, we've trained 287,000. So you can see the gap is very wide. So for us, we need more numbers and we need them quickly. And how we see it is that governments would be the best partners because many people pass through government institutions, and it can help us to meet the agenda, but at the same time also benefit the local people by getting their training.
In Tanzania, which institution are you working with?
So in Tanzania,
is it just one institution, or should we expect more maybe?
We want more, we're looking for more. We have already some partnerships with some of the technical training institutes. We have, for example, KTech in Arusha, which has been a long-term partner. And Schneider has been involved with KTech for, I think, more than 10 years. We have as well recently signed up a new partner, which we will be unveiling shortly. And we are open to have more discussions, especially with government, around how we can roll out maybe a nationwide support. We are having these discussions in parallel with other governments in the East Africa region.
This engagement is, are you also involved in the private sector as well?
So with private sector, obviously we are looking to support them from using our digitization solutions. And here it's not a training, it's more a business-to-business discussion. Like I mentioned earlier, we are a digital partner for sustainability and efficiency. And we see, and I also earlier mentioned that Schneider spends 5% of its turnover on R&D. Maybe if I didn't, but I'm just mentioning now. So we are constantly churning out very innovative solutions that solve problems that the industries face. And we believe that efficiency is really important in solving especially the energy challenge. And we talk about decarbonization, we talk about renewable energy, but sometimes we forget to talk about how do we save the energy that we have generated. So the efficiency agenda, we drive it using our digital solutions, and we have digital solutions across the industries. So we're having discussions with some local companies to offer our digital solutions for them to monitor their power consumption, to monitor their process lines, and those are ongoing conversations. We're building that business and educating the market. Also with some of the power utilities as well, we are having those discussions on how can they use the digital solutions to solve some of the challenges, especially around losses, because many of the utilities incur losses, but they don't know where those losses are going. And when you deploy digital solutions, what we call smart grid for utilities, then it helps to show where your power is going and where the losses are.
When you look at the trend, are you seeing a response from the the industry, the private sector, into changing and adapting to these renewable sort of energy or efficiency strategies?
Definitely, a lot of industries are under pressure for costs, and any solution that can help them to lower their costs. So they're really looking forward to trying to use these new technologies. Yeah, so a number of industries are quite receptive. Some of them have had these challenges and they've not been sure where to find a solution. So they're very happy to find somebody who can solve their problems. So we see a lot of receptivity. Of course, we have to do a lot of educating the market, and we're seeing positive trends.
It looks like there's quite a lot that you've been doing in East Africa. There's the issue of access to reliable energy in rural parts of Africa. I think in Kenya, in Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda, the situation is similar. So what is Schneider Electric doing to help these communities get reliable energy, especially that is clean energy, shall we say?
Yeah, and really I go back to the access to energy program that we talked about earlier and said that we have a social and inclusive business. And in that social and inclusive business, we have several products. And a number of those products have been designed to really provide a solution that is reliable. So like the product we launched yesterday, Homaya Pro, is really targeted at this, I would say,
rural communities. Rural communities,
areas where there's no grid or where there's unreliable grid. Because it is a hybrid inverter. You can use solar to charge your battery, or you can use the grid when the grid comes. So it becomes like a backup system or a primary source of power. That's our contribution. But also through our digitization solutions, we help rural communities, and players in the industry to really get information that can help them to make, decisions, and especially around, where to place different types of, solutions within their customer network.
Do you come across challenges, implementing these initiatives?
Of course. I mean, we do have...
Are they the markets or the targeted, countries, are they receptive, or do you think there's still, there's some which, you think that they don't really understand what you guys are doing?
We find that the challenges we face are not necessarily from, I would say, the countries. They would probably be from the realities on the ground. So sometimes you're lacking, access to trained people that deploy these solutions. The supply chain challenges that are facing everybody across, because we have to move product from one location to another. Sometimes there are delays in shipping and all this. So we have more, like, I would call them operational challenges, but also technical expertise. And that is why we are running the training program, to build that technical expertise, because then we believe that, as we build that technical expertise, they will come to solve the problems that are being faced as in that access challenge.
How do you see countries moving towards that direction?
I think so. And renewable energy...
is it the way to go right now, you think?
So again, the statistics...
It's something that is inevitable.
The statistics, even though we are making progress, is slow. I think globally, the renewable energy trends are going up faster. The reason being the cost of installing a new renewable energy plant has been coming down, especially solar. However, renewable energy sources, let's talk about solar and wind, are intermittent, which means you still need a baseload source of power. And other than geothermal and hydro, which are like more baseload, the bulk of the growing renewable energy is intermittent. So until we find solutions that bring that intermittency to be stable, which is in this case storage, we still say that even though we have a huge install base of renewable energy, we are not dispatching it constantly, because when the sun is down, we don't have solar power unless you stored it during the day.
So more research is needed in that area?
There is a lot of research ongoing. There are solutions, but they need to become cost competitive. There is a lot of storage options that are being discussed or being deployed. Some are at test phases. The battery solutions have been, but yet, competitively in terms of cost and commercial viability, still not yet there.
And what are your views on the area of innovation in this area?
Well, there's quite a bit of innovation ongoing. I think everybody's putting in a lot of research. There are topics around hydrogen, topics around, yesterday I met somebody at the conference who talked about aluminum storage. I've never even heard about it. So there's a lot of innovation by different companies, but also through our own company. And I believe that, we are going to see this developing further.
What do you think would really drive this, to be able to achieve this goal?
The driving factor today for innovation is all about decarbonization and climate change. So there's a lot of pressure, to rush towards the net zero. And many countries are still using fossil fuels to generate power. And there's a move and a clear pressure to move towards renewable to reduce this carbon emissions that are, of course, creating global warming and all these topics around climate. So that, and also access. So for me, when I look at the industry, and this is probably more on a global scale, the people that have access to electricity are using not so clean electricity. So those need to move towards the renewable. In Africa, For most of us that don't have access, we just need access. But then what is the easier one? The easier one is to use renewable, because then you don't have to go through the dirty and then go to renewable. You can go to renewable, but then how do we make it reliable? Yeah, so that is the innovation the pressure for the innovation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's have a look at Tanzania. Future areas of interest, maybe you think that, or the opportunities that you're seeing in Tanzania, to you, what stands out?
I see Tanzania as a very strategic country for us. One, because Tanzania is resource rich. There's a lot of resources. There's mining, there's gas, there's all sorts of resources, including the agricultural potential and the industry in Tanzania. So for us, it's really being here for the long term, building partnerships, because our business model is through local partnerships. So we are building those partnerships. We are developing that network. We are equipping those partners with the right technical knowledge, and really being here to sustain our presence. Because once our partners are fully equipped, then they become our ambassadors. And our job is to equip them with the solutions, the products, and the technical know-how.
To speed up this, say, developments in the energy sector, not just in Tanzania, but we're looking at Africa as a whole. Do you think that this, the speed or the progress can be made faster by working with the government alone, or do you think by private sector engagement as well? What is your view on this?
I think for me, I would say you need all the players on the table. So you need government to obviously develop and create an enabling environment. You need private sector to bring the technologies, especially the innovative technologies, because it's private sector that continues to innovate. But in terms of specifically the energy sector, if you think about the kind of models that we are seeing today, a lot of those models the innovative models are being driven by private sector. And remember, private sector would be, looking to make a return. We have a lot of impact-driven private sector players that are also in this space. And in fact, the conference participants yesterday, the conversation was all about investment. It was all about funding and funding into some of these innovative models. So I believe that, for access to be achieved, so let's talk about access in terms of the infrastructure. If you need the infrastructure, let's say if it's a mini grid, for example, you need to build the distribution lines. Who makes that investment? Is it government? Is it private sector? It's almost like a road. So typically the returns from that requires a much more longer term view. So we see a lot of players that provide grants to solve some of this. But I believe a holistic approach would really be, the right thing to do. And some governments seem to have built clear roadmaps. Others are still in that defining stage. And a lot of players have developed interest to solve the access to energy issue. And it tells you that private sector probably got agitated that governments are not doing enough, because we still, we left the access topic to government. The
government, exactly, yes.
But it's still, the numbers are not so good. However, in some countries where government has made a commitment and driven the agenda, you see the progress is a lot faster. Because again, yes, government is big enough, can muscle more funds and probably, sovereign funds and those kind of things for more longer term views, unlike the private sector. So it's really a balance and probably a more of a roadmap. Maybe in my view, this is my own view. Private sector could be helping to bridge the gap. But in the long term, then how does that transition back to government? Because again, when you bring a private sector player, then the issue of tariff becomes a conversation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why I was going to ask you.
Yes.
Yeah, there's some were saying that maybe if the private sector is involved, we'll see prices coming down.
Actually, no. Not necessarily, because if you see private sector involved, they're looking for a return. And the private sector is doing smaller mini grids, let's say, then unless they are doing it at scale, then they'll be trying to make maximum return, and therefore the tariff probably will be higher. And I think that's what we've seen. Unless there's a grant that helps to subsidize or a subsidy, the tariffs are high. However, government can be able to swallow some of that and offer a subsidized tariff. So those are the conversations that probably happen or need to happen if they're not. And again, I have to be clear that these are my personal views.
That's okay, because I asked you what do you think personally. Yes. But so at the end of the day, maybe renewable energy is the way to go right now to maybe be able to address some of these challenges, especially on the issue of pricing.
Agreed. And I'm not disputing the fact that it's renewable energy. It is then who makes the investment, who is making the investment, and what is the model that best, suits the consumer, the end user. Yeah, what model is the best? That is a conversation that is good to continue having. Okay, so maybe as we wind up the program, from Schneider Electric, what should we expect more from you? When looking at developments in the energy sector in Africa. So we expect to make our contribution in the energy sector with our technologies. And we will continue to do that. We are having conversations, with different utilities. In the energy sector, we have amazing solutions and technologies that we would like to deploy and help these people solve some of their problems. Also, we are expecting to continue pushing our access to energy agenda and minimize or reduce the number of people that do not have access. We, like I mentioned earlier, we already, through our solutions, have connected 34 million. This is a global number. Our ambition is to reach 50 million by 2025 and to reach 100 million by 2030. So we are on that mission, and we'll continue to do that as part of our social business.
And do you think you'll be able to meet the target?
Yes, we do. We believe we will, and especially as we've launched new products, those products will help us to meet those targets even faster.
Thank you so much. Today I had Carol Koech, who's the country president, Schneider Electric East Africa, and we'll look at the developments in the energy sector. My name is Yvonne Msimemo saying goodbye until next week.
Watch Capital Television